everyone, my name is Agiti, aka BlackGirlScientist, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome back if you're a returning subscriber, and welcome if you're new here. So as you can see today, I'm not alone. I have a beautiful guest on my channel, the absolutely lovely, dynamic Kolisa. Kolisa is a PhD candidate in oceanography, but I'll let her tell you all about that. So Kolisa, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here.
Hey everyone. Thanks Agiti. Hi everyone, my name is Kolisa Sinyanya. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Cape Town in South Africa, and I'm an oceanographer. I study phytoplankton and nutrient cycling in the ocean. It's good to be here.
Thank you so much. So Kolisa, please can you take us back, like right from the beginning to when you were interested in science or a STEM field? Like, was there anyone who motivated you or inspired you, to walk this path? And is it something that you've always wanted to do, or is it something that you kind of found yourself in?
Well, I didn't just find myself in it, but at the same time I kind of did, because I've always wanted to be a scientist. I was inspired by my parents, who are not scientists, but for as long as I can remember, at home we always talked about science and us becoming scientists. And when I say us, I mean the kids. And so it's something that's always been in the household and therefore in my head. And then when I talk about it being a surprise or not expecting it to happen, I didn't actually believe that I would become a scientist. I thought, yeah, it's a dream, but how do I get there? I didn't know how to get there, and so did not see myself as a scientist, even though I would have those moments where I would tell people that one day I will be a world-renowned smart chick. I didn't entirely link it to being a scientist, but today I'm exactly that. And I think it has to do with just growing up thinking about becoming one, and one day deciding that I actually want to be a black person in the sciences, because I didn't see any black people, and so I wanted to be that black person who is in the sciences.
And I really think you're doing that phenomenally well. Like, you're absolutely climbing, and yeah, it's been amazing to even meet you right now. I mean, it's our first time meeting, but I feel like I already know you from all our communications on social media and via Zoom. So that's really, really awesome. So you spoke about, how when you were little, you knew that you wanted to be the smart chick, that you didn't quite know was going to be a scientist like you are one today. So what kind of challenges have you faced, walking the journey in STEM as a black woman, as a young black woman in this field?
Well, I could say the most prominent I can think of now is just being looked down upon, especially by white males in the science field. And I always say I think I've been very lucky, because I haven't encountered many obstacles in my journey. However, the one I just mentioned, and just the discrimination when you go on field expeditions is one of those things that could deter one from continuing with the journey. In fact, I know someone who decided that they don't want to be in marine sciences anymore because of discrimination that we encountered on one of our sampling expeditions. So wow. she was like, I'm not continuing with my master's, I'm just gonna stop. And she did exactly that.
Oh my goodness.
So those experiences require one to be vocal, to fight back. And that is something I have always believed in, that you need to speak up, you need to tackle whatever is trying to put you out of the way, because basically that's what happens at these expeditions. It's people trying to show you that you're not good enough to be doing this, you shouldn't be here, you are not what we want here. And then you're like, well, sorry, I'm here then, and I am what I want to be here, and so many other people out there watching who want to join this field, for example, believe that I should be here. And for me, I would say being in sciences as a Black person, especially as a Black woman, you need to have courage, you need to have power, and by power I mean have the strength to tackle everything that comes at you. Yeah.
Do you sometimes feel like I don't know, maybe I felt like this before, like you need to kind of overachieve just to feel like you fit in, or to prove a point, or anything along those lines, just to deal with that you don't belong, and then you show that you do?
Yes, it's something I've heard a lot from especially my colleagues and from other Black people in other industries. For me, I just do what I am there to do, and everything just falls into place. In fact, I feel like at the moment I might be doing too much. I have people who call me an overachiever, and I mean, it's just me living my life. I'm not trying to be an overachiever, I'm just this person. And so to answer Zagiti's question, I would just say, in the reality of things, yes, as Black people, we have to do much more, like 10 times better, just to even get into the spaces, first of all. And when you are within the spaces, you always have to prove yourself. You always have to fight off whatever is coming, and I can't name them by name because there are so many of them, but basically you are racially profiled, and so everything that comes will be attached to gender discrimination, racial discrimination, and you just have to be great at what you do. And I think I'm great at what I do, and so when you are great at what you do, you don't even have to be trying so hard. Opportunities come for you. You get headhunted for things. When people are organizing whatever they're organizing around the globe, they think of you. They'll be like, there's this girl called Kolisa Sinyanya in South Africa. Can we have her be part of this? So essentially, yes, you have to work much harder than the rest, but when you just do your thing and be great at it, the opportunities just come on their own.
So you did just mention about how you're doing too much right now. There's nothing wrong with being called an overachiever. I think it's a compliment, actually. There's nothing wrong with overachieving. So can you tell us a little bit about the different roles that you're occupying right now?
Okay, I always run away from this question. I usually get asked this question on my radio interviews and TV interviews, and I'm like, guys, why are you asking this question? It's a hard question. It's very hard. It's hard to answer, but then I'll tell you guys. I am a PhD candidate. I'm a final year PhD candidate, hopefully submitting my PhD next year, so you have to call me doctor soon. Dr.
Sinyanya, I'll start.
Already people call me doctor.
Perfect.
Crazy. I am a science communicator. I'm a well-known science communicator globally. I am a social media manager, science social media accounts though. I not just any account. So I manage science social media accounts. I have been involved a lot. If you guys know about the BlackGirlScientist franchise that has been happening all over the internet, I have been part of those, predominantly Black and Geoscience Week, which highlights earth sciences, and my field falls under that. And so I was one of the organizers of that global event, and then they elected me to be the content lead for Hydrosphere Day, which is basically research around water. And I was representing South Africa, and the researchers I was working with from the UK and the USA, and my assistant was a professor from Princeton, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm working with, her name is Professor Sonia Legg. And I was like, Sonia is my is my assistant.
Wow.
What else do I do? I also speak. I do a lot of speaking engagements. My last speaking engagement was last week, where I was invited by Ocean Innovation to talk about startups in the marine spaces. Basically, they wanted to hear from a scientist our standpoint regarding startups and businesses that have to do with ocean-based startups. That's what I do, and many more. I have many hats. My hat is being a PhD candidate.
This is what I actually mentioned in my previous video, you know, how the PhD is like the center of my life, and everything else is kind of around that. And this is what we also spoke about when we were chatting as well.
Yeah.
So that is awesome. You must have really great time management skills, because that's a lot.
Well, at PhD level, I think majority of PhD students should be able to manage their time. I mean, when you reach your postgrad, you start learning that you need to know what to do at what time, how, for how long, and basically we manage our own time. And so I have learned and been taught how to do that, and maybe I am good at managing time.
No, I can
my time.
Tell you that for free that you are. You clearly are, because you wear so many hats, and I'm always seeing all the different engagements that you're involved with on social media, and I'm just like, wow, Kolisa definitely has more than 24 hours in her day.
Also, I don't know, my body doesn't like to sleep much.
There it is.
So I will do work up until say 3 a.m. But you know what? 2020 has sort of changed my circadian rhythm, because in the previous years, including 2020 at the beginning, I had such long days. But now, majority of the time, I'm just exhausted. Exhausted from just staying in the house, I believe. So my sleeping patterns have been rather compromised, but generally I call myself a nocturnal being. I'm usually up during the day and at night, and I work much better in the evening till like 3 a.m. in the morning. Those are my best times and my favorite times for coding.
Oh wow, coding as well. Jeez, Kolisa, there's so much. But let's go back to, you know, the PhD, and that being kind of, you know, a priority in your life right now, and completing that. You being a PhD candidate in oceanography, can you tell us a little bit about that, and a little bit about your research in the simplest way possible?
All right. So my PhD is basically me trying to understand, using nitrogen isotopes, trying to understand how the ocean functions with global warming in place, the water's warming. We're trying to understand how the phytoplankton, now phytoplankton are these microscopic organisms that live in the ocean, and they photosynthesize, and because they photosynthesize, they live in the upper ocean. So I study the upper ocean between, we call it the surface waters, between about 100 meters or 120 and to the surface. So I'm trying to understand how those phytoplankton within those regions take up nutrients and use those nutrients to take up the carbon that is from the atmosphere and dissolves on the surface waters of the ocean. So the phytoplankton takes those up, and when they die, the carbon is incorporated in their particles, and the particles will sink into the deep ocean. And so what we do is we sample the upper ocean, we take the water, we filter it, and we check from the phytoplankton using the nitrogen isotopes what types of nitrogen they have taken up. So there are different types of nitrogen, and the ones I am particularly interested in are nitrate and ammonium. But then nitrate is the most important one because it tells us a story of how much carbon has been compressed into the deep ocean. We call this process the biological pump. So I study the biological pump and biogeochemical cycling. That's your homework. You need to look up that word, biogeochemical cycling. So my PhD is basically marine biogeochemistry or ocean biogeochemistry, trying to understand that in the Agulhas Current, which is close to the African continent. It's a warm ocean. It is wide, it's deep, and all those traits have implications on everything that I just mentioned, the nutrients and how they are taken up by the different phytoplankton groups. And I love my work. I also try to quantify by calculating the rates at which the uptake of the carbon happens, and the nitrate, how much it has been taken up, and this ammonium. So the ammonium does not facilitate the compression of the carbon. And you know why it's important for the carbon to be compressed? Because the ocean takes up most of the carbon on the planet, even including when compared to all the forests in the world, even including those, the ocean takes more of those. And so these different nutrients are important in that way, in us knowing that this is how much carbon, when I calculate, this is how much carbon that has been compressed into the deep ocean this year, this hour, this day.
Wow, that was, I actually understood that quite.
I'm a science communicator.
I hope everyone got that too. But that's so interesting, and you know, in oceanography, obviously, I mean, I don't think people, when they think of oceanography, like, they think of black women. So like, how did you get into, you know, being an oceanography major?
So my journey into oceanography started way back at Walter Sisulu University. So it's all interlinked. It's a journey. I didn't just get into oceanography. It's a journey that started from undergrad. And in my undergraduate, I studied biological sciences, which basically allowed me to major in botany and zoology. and I was fascinated by the botany more, and decided to go with botany in my honors. And when people think of botany, they think plants, and I don't blame people. But I was focusing more on microbes that associate with plants. And so there were a number of parameters that I was trying to understand in my master's, where we looked at nitrogen fixation of the relationship between the plants and the microbes. We studied the nutrient cycle, and now in my PhD, I'm doing the same things but applying them in the ocean. So when I completed my master's, I was like, yay, I really like working with microbes, because I worked with microbes in my honors trying to produce biofuels, and then I worked with microbes again in my master's, trying to understand the symbiosis between the plants and the microbes. We also call it the molecular key. And now I wanted to understand how it works outside the terrestrial world, but in the ocean. And that's how I got into majoring in oceanography. I found an opportunity that allowed me to do this. And so I applied, well, I didn't apply actually. I saw an email, I saw a call, and I emailed the lady who was one of the lead PIs. And immediately she said she thinks she wants to work with me. And so she asked me to apply for the position. And we had a chat about when we can have an interview, and we decided on a day. We spoke, and at the end of it wasn't an interview, guys, we were just chatting. she just, Dr. Sarah Fawcett, we just chatted, and she was like, oh, okay, I just wanted to hear your voice, but this is yours if you want it. And of course I wanted it. Yeah. It also allowed me to come back to UCT, because I had vowed that after masters, if I don't do my PhD with UCT, I'm going abroad. So I got this perfect opportunity to come back to Cape Town. I love Cape Town. To come back to Cape Town. I was living in Pretoria at the time, and I hated it. I hated Pretoria. I don't ever want to go back there to stay, you know. I don't mind going for conferences or just visiting, but to stay, no. And so I started my PhD with Sarah Fawcett.
Oh wow, so that is like quite a journey, and I love showing or talking about, especially because my channel is really geared towards, you know, other women, young people that are walking the journey through STEM, and how you can be totally like multifaceted. Like Kolisa just said, she did producing biofuels in her honors, tried to produce biofuel in her honors, was doing botany and zoology, and now she's in oceanography. So it just shows that, you know, you can chop and change between it. It's all science at the end of the day. And it's totally fine. But in keeping with that, Kolisa, what advice would you give a young person who's either in the journey, like PhD candidates like ourselves, or are still high school students, in walking this journey?
I would say, if you put a dream on paper, even if it's not on paper, but I believe a lot in writing things down, because you can see it and therefore it's tangible. If you dream it, go for it. And when you go for it, you need to be prepared for all the naysayers, the people who will be competing with you. the people who will be trying to block you from getting opportunities. Be ready to be independent, to make your own path. For example, in postgrad, you will have a mentor, whether you like it or not. You will have a mentor that is either given to you as a supervisor, or you chose to be your supervisor, and that person will be your mentor. They will be your supervisor slash mentor slash advisor, and some supervisors are terrible at it, and so even though this person is your mentor, they could be doing a terrible job. And so you need to learn from that and know which path you want to pave for yourself. Don't always try to emulate your mentor. Be yourself. Do what you know you are good at and what you're passionate about, because when you are not passionate about something you do, you don't do it with love. You need to be happy all the time, especially when you get to PhD level, because it's a marathon. It's a mental marathon, and it will drain you. That's a promise. It will drain you. So you need to love it. You need to be happy while doing it. And so my advice would be that, and over and above, make sure that your mental health is on point. If you need to party like I do, I party.
Me too.
I party. I go out and have fun. Don't be discouraged by people saying, but you're a scientist, you're a PhD candidate, you can't do that. You can do whatever you want. Just make sure that you don't step on other people's toes, and you don't mess up your reputation, because you're a brand. You are starting out. You have your whole life ahead of you. You can do whatever the heck you want to do, but be responsible while doing it. Go for your dreams.
Wow, that is really, really great advice. So this is where we're gonna end it. I feel like we could go on and on and on. But we're gonna end it here. Thank you so much, Kolisa, for being on my channel. I know you're super busy and you took time out of your schedule to come and meet me and do this. So thank you so much for that. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and that you learned from it. I'm going to leave Kolisa's handles down below as well. She's really big on social media, on Twitter especially. Like she said, she's a science communicator as well, so follow her. I mean, she has great content on Twitter, all the science content. That's where I get all my little science information that I need. Like she said, she's involved in so many different things, and it's so many different hashtags that she has and that she follows that you can follow as well. So I'll leave her handle down below. So thank you for tuning in. If you've made it to the end of the video, don't forget to click the subscribe button. If you have any questions for Kolisa, leave us a comment down below and I will make sure that she answers them for you at her earliest possible convenience. So thank you again for tuning in, you guys, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye. Yay!
Whoop whoop. My nipple